Welcome to the AC Green Show. I'm AC Green. You know what we're doing. We're building a community of goal-oriented, success-driven individuals who recognize the value of coming together to do great things as we all build financial wealth and holistic lives. So I'm talking about the church building more specifically. People have not been able to go into these churches. And let me just say, I'm even more specifically talking about the black church. All right. So I want to zero in on the black church. People have not been able to go in these buildings for 4 months, going on 5 months. There is some movement into the building, a certain percentage, and depending on what state you're in, a certain percentage can go into the building and all that. I'm thinking this way. Do we need to start to rethink and reimagine what the building should be like? What should happen in the building? Should it be used primarily as a rah-rah session, I call it, or a enthusiastic, spiritual energy session, which is good. You need that. You have to have that. Should it be used as the spiritual pep rally? And should we look at it only like that, like we have been looking at it in the black community? Or should we reimagine the church and the church building going forward? See, in the civil rights days, the black church was not only the place where you had Sunday school and where you had worship services. It was not only the place where the preacher would preach and the choir would sing. It was also the place where you learned how to navigate through changing times. The black church during Jim Crow in the South and the North not only got to the center of your spirituality, but it also dealt with the humanism of the times. In those times, they were different. Boundaries were different. The way white folks treated black folks was different, even more different than it is right now. And we had to navigate through those times. There are certain places back in those times during Jim Crow that you could not go. And you had to be taught somewhere how to navigate through everyday life. The bus boycotts, the various protests, they were centered around the church at a time when you didn't have social media and cell phones and all those things. So there was a gathering place. Now, should we reimagine the building so that we have wellness centers in these buildings, that we have credit centers where we can learn how to have better credit? We have entrepreneurial centers in these buildings. Should we reimagine the building now so that we can teach and tutor our young to become schools for our people? Should we reimagine the church building now? Yes, we still have worship experiences and all those things, but should we just have it set aside for a Sunday worship experience and maybe a week, 1 or 2 days during the week? Now, some churches are open every single day, and I'm not talking about any church. I'm not criticizing any church. I want your input. What should we do in our thinking when it comes to the black church now? There is so much need in our community, and I cannot think of a better way to use the building than to meet the need, directly meet the need. Get government funding, get private funding, get the resource professionals that are in our communities and some in our churches to do everything from the medical aspect to the testing aspect to every aspect. We have medical issues, comorbidities, which is why the COVID is doing so. Coronavirus is ravaging the black community. We need to use these church buildings to rebuild ourselves. I want your input on this. This is very passionate to me. I think that right now is the time to realign how we're using these same buildings that we only for a time worshiped in and have religious services in. Sure, we're not going to negate any of that. We're going to continue to do that. I think we should always deal with the spiritual center of our people. But it's time now to look at these buildings differently, in my opinion. And I want to see what you think. So many things you can do in there. To bring the business owners in. You can have certified massage therapy in those buildings. Those who are psychologists and psychiatrists, and those who in the black community have professions where they can bring their talents and gifts and skills right there so that we could help them with their business, at the same time be able to help our community. We need retooling, family. all of what we're going through and all of what we're dealing with in these communities, the death and the killing even of babies and young folks, all of this is primarily due to what's not there in our communities. And I think now these churches and the church buildings, pastors, church leaders have to step to the front and now become the answer for many of these things. Where else do we go? We cannot forever depend on a dysfunctional public school system to teach our children. We need to open up these churches and set up schools in 90% of these churches so that we are teaching ourselves. We cannot count on a white system to teach black folks black history. We cannot count on a white system to make sure that we're healthier. We have diabetes clinics on almost every corner in the black community. They're talking about the coronavirus and how it's killing so many people. Why isn't there a greater concentration on how many people are dying of diabetes and heart failure in the black community every single day? And fix that. There's a lot of teaching that can happen. And I think that it needs to be centered around the church. This is my opinion. I think it's well founded. I want to know what you think. Let me know. Go to comments. Let me know what you think. Am I on point with this? Am I off with this? Let me know what you think about this. Should we retool and reimagine the church building, the black church building more specifically? All right. It's all about community. So I'm giving, you're my sister, you're my brother, and I love you. When you rise, I rise too. It's all about community.